Hi guys! So our objective today is going to be I can identify complementary and supplementary angles. So let's get that written down. And this is on page 74 of your ISN. So I can identify complementary and supplementary angles. All right, so last time we talked about vertical angles and we talked about adjacent angles. This is just two other ways to classify angles. So we're gonna have our keywords again, and we'll draw our line. We'll just go all the way down. Try and do your best to follow that line there. And our first is complementary angles. And the definition of complementary angles is simply two angles whose measures add up to 90 degrees. Add up to 90 degrees. So let's try and draw a picture so we can see what that might look like. So it's pretty easy to draw 90 degrees because we have grid paper in our ISN, which is pretty cool. So 90 degrees is just like any corner you might see. So just on two of the straight edges, put arrows to show that the lines extend. And then a 90 degree is typically shown by just outlining the box or the square that is in the corner of that angle. And now we're gonna create two angles out of this 90 degree shape. So we're gonna do that by drawing a line as best you can down the middle like that. So now we have two different angles. And this one we know would be 45 degrees and this one would be 45 degrees because if it's a total of 90 and we split it right down the middle, two 45-degree angles would equal 90 degrees. And therefore that angle and that angle are both angles whose measures will add up to 90 degrees, which makes them complementary angles. So let's try and draw another example of two angles that might, or that do definitely add up to 90 degrees. And we're gonna do that by drawing a straight line here. And then we'll try and draw, we'll scoot over a little bit. So maybe like 1, 2, 3, 4 lines over, and then we'll draw a line up and down like that. So as you can see, if that one and that one were put together, they would make that 90 degrees. So we'll use these two lines. And then this one, we might draw, we're just kind of guesstimating. We're not doing an exact angle measurement, but we'll kind of draw it like that. And then this one, we'll draw it parallel to that line, like so, but parallel but still apart. So now let's do our arrows on each of those lines. So we could see here, so let's just maybe call this one 30 degrees and let's maybe call this one 60 degrees. So if we call that 30 degrees and that 60 degrees, well, we know that 30 plus 60 is 90, so that we could call this angle and that angle complementary angles. So if we call this one here angle A and this one here angle B, or we could call them angle 1 and angle 2, anything like that, then we could then state that angle A and angle B are complementary angles. All right, so hopefully that is making sense. So our next keyword is supplementary angles, or key phrase, I should say. Yes, I'm doing okay. Supplementary angles. So supplementary angles are two angles whose measures add up to 180 degrees. So that's pretty cool. So what do we know about 180 degrees? It's just a straight line, right? So we could go ahead and draw an example of this by drawing a straight line. That points that way, that points that way, and then we can just kind of pick how to divide that line up. So maybe like that, an angle off that way. And let's not even name these angles this time. Let's just call this angle 4 and that angle 3, just to kind of see like different ways that this idea might be presented to you. And we could just state that angle 3 and angle 4 are supplementary angles. And the reason we're able to state that is because we can see it's a straight line, which we know is 180 degrees. Therefore, the measurement of angle 3, whatever that is, plus the measurement of angle 4 would add up to 180 degrees. So let's see another example of that, possibly with just some degrees. Again, not exactly. Let's draw a line here. And then just leave maybe a space of like 2 squares and then draw a line there. And then we could go ahead and draw an angle off about this way, about this much. Let's see, like so. And then we'll draw a parallel line, but a little bit away from that line. Parallel line that way. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's rough. And if we go ahead and name the degrees here, then we can know what the artist intended for these degrees to be. So 135 degrees there, and we'll call this one, yeah, this is definitely not exact, but we'll call that one 45 degrees, okay? So 135 degrees, 45 degrees, if we add those together, that total would be 180 degrees. So knowing that the total of these two angles would be 180 degrees, we'll go ahead and write that down. 135 degrees plus 45 degrees, that would equal 180 degrees. Then we could definitely say that these two are supplementary angles. And then go ahead and check the next 2 slides for a practice problem with these 2 ideas. Thanks.